I'm told that dentists are way up.
Well, the reservoir always brings out.
For,
okay, I want to call to order the East Haddam Planning and Zoning Department meeting on Tuesday. Can I have the attendance, please? Can I have it quiet, please? Thank you. Can I have attendance, please?
Berta Brownell.
Here.
James Curtin.
Here.
Kevin Matthews.
Here.
Harvey Thomas.
Here.
Bernard Gillis.
Here.
Louis Salacrup.
Here.
Ed Gubbins, absent. Richard Pettinelli.
Here. Joe
Zaid.
Here.
Which have you set up for Ed this evening? Which Joe, you set it for me last week. Here. Okay. Minutes of our past meeting. Even though I wasn't at the meeting, I had a question on page 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraph down. You're talking about all the Mr. Kasner preceded information planning and zoning. Well, you write up Connecticut River Gateway Commission and COG. Those are 2 separate entities, so they need to be separated, please. 2 different commissions. Okay. The way you put them together, it almost sounds like they're one and the same, and they're not.
Actually, on that same line, right after COG, it says, will also the 5 town Economic Development Commission meetings, and we need to slip in between also and the attend. Okay, and then 2 more lines down, it says Economic Development Commission to coordinate a shuttle for tourism. Okay, that's the only thing I had on it.
Anyone else? Okay, I guess we'll accept the minutes as bills.
Just got 2 in this week. One from East Haddam News for legal notices, $33. And the other from Malone and McBroom for $2,400. I don't know what.
What was that? We haven't seen them. Motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, site plan review. Continued. Tony Marie Dumais, 9 Berry Road, site plan review for seasonal to year-round conversion. Map 67, lot 110, I'm sorry. Do you want to put it on the side or something so other people can see?
Sure. I've got the same copies that are here. They are. So I can pass out. Okay. Thank you. A whole bunch of noise. We'll share some.
I'm going to go now.
Just take the one and pass it on. Go ahead, Roger.
And this is an application. Site plan approval, say, conversion from a seasonal cottage to year-round residence, and it's located in 9 Berry Road. So it's up by the water, and it's actually, this property is on the corner of Pine Road. There's also these kind of pictures to place with Berry Road. And it also has frontage on Paula Road, which is right parallel to Berry. It's 0.58 acres. It's in the Lake District. So this map is 180 feet, and north is straight up. And the property we're talking about is off the line shown pretty line work. On the north side of the property is bordered by Paula Road. On the south side, which is the street address, because that's the way the house fronts, is Berry Road. And then on the west side is Pine Road. And the building we're talking about is about 1,000 square feet, 1,008 square feet. It's shaded as a rectangle on this plan. It's a seasonal use now, and we're here to get approval for conversion to year-round use. It does meet all the requirements of the zoning regulations. The building is 1,008 feet, so it has to be greater than 600 square feet, which it is. The lot has to be more than half an acre, and this lot is 0.581 acres, so it meets that requirement. And then the third requirement is coverage. The building coverage cannot exceed 15%, and this is 4%. Those are the three literal conditions that are in the zoning regulations for conversion. And then, of course, we have to meet the health code, which we do. We did the soil testing. The soils are very good out there, and we've designated a code compliant area up in the north of the house, and it meets all the requirements of the state health code, separation from all the adjacent wells and soil conditions. There are no planned renovations to the existing house. The existing house will not, there'll be no addition on it, and the exterior will look identical. There's no plans immediately for the interior of the house. It's listed as a one-bedroom house. It's 1,000 square feet, but if you look at the floor plan, that's what it is. Interestingly enough, the health code does not recognize one-bedroom houses. All bedroom houses are 2-bedroom or more. So when we had to do the code compliance system, we couldn't do it for a 1-bedroom house. It actually was done for a 2-bedroom house. So if this ever became a 2-bedroom house, there's a system designated that could meet that. It's not required that the system be installed. So this is a paper study. We just have to designate location on the plan where it could go in if it had to. And the reason for that is because we're not increasing the bedrooms. It would have to be installed if the bedrooms increased by more than 50%. In our case, it's going to be a 0%, 1-bedroom house now, and stay a 1-bedroom. No activity, the only actual activity of construction that's being proposed is to put a new septic tank in, and that would be to the west of the house, over here. And the only reason we're doing that is because the old septic tank was within the 75-foot protected radius for the owner's well. So as part of that, we've got to abandon the existing septic tank and move a new septic tank, 1,000-gallon septic tank, probably about 10 or 15 feet to get it outside the well radius. There's no activity, even that activity is no activity being proposed within upland review zone of wetland or water course. So it's pretty straightforward. It's a fairly flat lot. It happens to be 3 lots pieced together over the years, which happens out on the lake every now and then. I have a copy. I don't know if you've received something more formal, but we have an email copy from the Chatham Health District indicating that the plan is approved. And as I said, there's no activity within an upland review area. There's actually no wetlands on the property. With all the requirements, it's relatively straightforward.
Do you have any correspondence?
I have one dated January 8th, 2019. Chatham Health District B100A building conversion for 9 Berry Road, East Haddam. Review. Dear Commission members, I reviewed and approved the above referenced item on January 8th, 2019. The approval consists of the signing of the Chatham Health District B100A building conversion application and the stamping and the approval of the plot plan submitted by Roger Nemergut, professional engineer, dated December 26, 2018. Sincerely, James Karenberg, registered sanitarian.
Questions?
Any issue with the drywall being right at the end of the driveway? Drywall H20 or?
You know, it's been there, we don't really know how long it's been there, and it hasn't been an over it all the time.
Is that brick wall there shown? Is that some kind of retaining wall or something? Right by these,
No, that's not a retaining wall. It's like some people have a patio and they want to define the edge.
oh, okay.
The wall's about 3 feet high, maybe. It's decorative.
You don't have to replace the house or all the way to the house?
That'll probably happen. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. We're going to replace it, obviously, from the existing tank, so who knows what we'll find, probably old Orangeburg. It'll be scheduled for
It'd
it.
be interesting.
You can go watch.
I can go, no, I've seen enough things.
Not this time.
No, not in February.
Any other commissioners at this time? Open up to any comments from the public?
Sure. Hi.
I need you to state who you are, sir, please.
Erwin Johnson, I am his neighbor. I'm at 17. Right here.
Okay.
And I welcome to come into the neighborhood because, you know, it's a nice, quiet community. We all know each other. You know, we're all friends, and I welcome them. You know, I haven't had any problem at all. You know, and I look forward to seeing them on a regular basis now. Thanks.
Thanks. I should point out that the owners have owned this property for a very long period of time. And you're referring to, which you probably know them because they've been there for so long, it's now a year road.
Harry McRae, 12 Berry Road. I'm right across the street, and I'm anxious to have them be year-round neighbors. They're great people. I'm Tony's mom from way back, so it's just it's a great family, great addition to the whole town.
Just one thing we should note for the record, because we were wondering, Tony is our recording secretary, but for the tape, even though it's on YouTube, she just mentioned that she did leave the room just in case there was any issue of conflict.
As we all must.
Andy handed in green cards, correct.
There we go.
Okay, any questions for Roger? Okay, thank you, Roger. Anybody mind to make a decision, talk about it? I'm quiet.
Pretty straightforward. There's nothing, okay.
Good.
Other than getting a better septic tank, we won't know the difference.
I'm sorry?
Other than getting a better septic tank, we won't notice any difference.
Yep, that's true.
I'll make a motion to approve application 18-16, Tony Marie Domain, 9 Berry Road site plan review for a seasonal to year-round conversion, map 67, lot 110, with the conditions of the Chatham Health District that the tank placed be the proper distance from the well.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Roger, on your way out, you want to?
I will.
Thank you very much. Okay, discussion, Economic Development Commission, general discussion. I have it listed here. Were you expecting that, Bob, or?
Well, yeah, no, I was, but I was, this is plan of conservation and development.
Okay.
You want to do that, or?
I would rather do that first, but I'm
Okay.
going down through the order.
Oh, okay, so it's okay for me to address it as the,
Sure.
plan of basically, we have put together, what we feel are the biggest things for economic development, to do here, and,
Okay, so Bob, you're not going to go through this page by page, are you? Right
no,
now?
I don't
Okay.
think you want me to.
I'd rather have a chance to read it and absorb it, and then you can. If that's
Yeah,
okay
I
with
think
you.
I will get kicked out of here in about 2
No.
minutes.
But I just wanted to bring out a few of the highlights of what we have been working on, and this is myself and Sue Smith, the Economic Development Director here. And so I thought if I can just go through page 1 and go through these on the major items that we have either changed from what we did a few years ago or added. And I'd just like to start off by kind of like in the middle of the page, the Gillette Castle State Park. That park has 250,000 people that visit that park yearly. And I think that is goes on Town Street, goes down River Road, and we have an awful lot of visitors that are driving down through there, and I think the board feels like we're not getting our fair share of revenue out of that stream of traffic. And I think that we're going to be looking at how we can better take advantage of that kind of visitations in one particular section of town. And I think that it's a group of people that would be willing to take more advantage of our restaurants or other things that are available to them if we make them available. And also we're looking to do it in I guess in a way in which it looks more inviting. And but the big thing is we got a lot of people here, and we got traffic here, and we need to take and find a way in which we can take better advantage of it. The other thing is the grand list. The grand list basically we should be doing better. We've only on the middle of the page on 2. It's only 5.58, and I think that that's an area that we need to see growth in. We need to do a better job to get something on the grand list. So we need to do something with business that is going to make business want to come to East Haddam, and also we got to be successful. Business is not going to stay unless it's successful. So we've got to do everything on our power from economic development to number 1, get people in here, but number 2, make sure that they are successful. Down at the bottom, the last paragraph down there, the vacant commercial space. It's a situation where attracting new business, we need to find places for them. It's difficult to right now find a place where you could actually walk into an outlet that is on a state highway that has the things that basically business wants. I mean, they want water, they want sewers, they want to be on a state highway, and they want traffic. So we basically need to see in town where we have the best possible spots for business and make it as friendly a zoning as we can to make that available. So if we can do it between zoning and then also the infrastructure, we find is a major drawback. I think that we're finding the other towns around us, they have water and sewers. Why do we always look to Chester? And Chester with basically their little village, and why do we go there for dinner? Because they have a variety of restaurants. They have high-end, low-end, a lot of different things, but they have water and they have sewers, which make it possible for a business to go into those spaces, open up the business the next day, and because they can tie right into water and sewers. So I think it's an important thing that we look at infrastructure. I think that our neighbors are, whether it's East Hampton, it's Colchester, it's Haddam, they're all pulling in basically infrastructure. Haddam is doing a great job. They're pulling water in. So basically, Tylerville is going to have fresh water. They're also investigating how they can handle the sewage for Higgin. And they're talking about building a plant that's very similar to ours. And so I think that other towns around us are wanting to help their businesses get established, and I think we need to do the same thing. That we need to do everything in our power to make that happen. If we get into basically our 3 commercial areas, the first one on 3 of 9 is the Goodspeed Landing area. I think that the landing area is an area that things are going to happen down there. We've got the town property down there. There's going to be something happening with that. And I think that the area around it is going to either grow because of it or not grow, depending on how good a job the town of East Haddam does with finding the right people to purchase that town hall property and what they do with it and what businesses we get in there. And so I think that one of the things the board is looking at is to have a master plan of the East Haddam Village. So we know what's going where, we can find parking, we can actually get it drafted as to where we think it works, get the road system working down there so that the lumberyard road has some kind of a reasonable intersection here, and basically get access into the town office site or something other than driveway right by the bridge. But I think that we need to look at it as the whole village. And I think that it can't be just that one little 2-acre spot of the town property. It's got to be the whole village. It's got to go all the way up to the library. It's got to be the Goodspeed. It's got to be down Lumberyard Road. It's got to be basically taking in Creamery Road. We've got little pieces around here and there, but it's not tied together. And of course, we all know it's parking. You've got to make it so that when people come across that bridge, they've got a place to go park. And so I think we need to do some work on that. I think we need to basically get together between the town, the Goodspeed, and the other principal stakeholders down there. And I think that we need to work together. And I think that is certainly something economic development and planning and zoning needs to work together on. And then work together with the stakeholders down there to see what we can do to make that village as prosperous a village as we can. It always goes back to the traffic and the parking, and then of course, I mean, a walkable place. We need to make it so it's safe to walk down there, and so we need to do everything in our power to make that happen. So when we're looking down at policies and recommendations, I think the big ones is to develop a master plan for the village, and basically capitalize on the river. We're not capitalizing on that river. It's the biggest asset we have. And we don't have access to it. We don't have a way in which to get there. And we need to work on that with some kind of a joint together with the Goodspeed. They've got a ton of it, and they don't use it. That parking lot's sitting down there, a beautiful waterfront piece of property, and it's not being utilized at all. And I think that as we're working with the Goodspeed, that's got to be on the table, that somehow we've got to get some walkways down through there, we've got to get access down there, we've got to make it so that people can get to that river. And I think that working with our partners, basically the Connecticut River EDCs, that is definitely something that's on our list of things to do, is basically to utilize the river in a better way, get the traffic, whether it's the boat traffic, the train traffic, or car traffic, and making the loop so that we can basically have a nice little day trip for people to come up here and either walk around our park and basically get over onto the ferry and come back up and get back over into the Eagles Landing State Park and utilize that. They've got the docks over there. Hopefully we can have a dock over on our side that's big enough to handle some boats over here on our side too. And I think that that's another item that we need to look into. Sue, would you like to add anything on the Goodspeed Landing area?
Just the appeal. There's a reason we have all that traffic that goes by and a lot of folks don't stop. So that's something that we've really identified, is that we need to do something to give that warmer, welcoming feel through signage, through landscaping through, benches, again, the sidewalks. And that's been something we've really hit on, is that it doesn't have that welcome to East Haddam feel that where you want to stop. It's just like a continuous flow of traffic, and you're afraid if you get out of the traffic, you won't get back in and get where you need to go. So somehow we need to, soften that approach a little bit and make it a place where people want to stop and want to, spend their money, spend their time, enjoy East Haddam.
Can I just hold on for a second? Mike, we're going to be going through all these areas, aren't we?
Yep.
It might behoove the commissions that we're not doing it twice, that when we get to that part, you can have your time at that point.
Absolutely.
I think that
However
would
you'd
move
like
things,
to do.
I think that would move things along a little faster, because I wasn't expecting you to go through this, like I said.
Okay.
Take
Very
space
good.
by space.
Any way you want to do it.
Good point. Yeah, we touched on a lot of those and some specificity as well, just add some additional information into it. So I think doing it in light of sort of what we're already crafting makes a lot of sense.
I really do, I don't mean to cut you off at all.
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
I'm gonna hand it off to you.
Next on the agenda?
Yes, you are. Well, yeah, it's all plan of conservation development, that's what we're here for.
Okay. So I think before we delve right into the action agenda, I'll just recap kind of where we were at. We met about a month ago. I circulated the main themes of the plan as well as the action items to sort of what we want to do, how we're going to get there. I'm looking for feedback on that tonight. We're also planning our second workshop for February 13th. For those that aren't aware, it'll be at the municipal. It'll be actually here again over in the gymnasium. Similar format where we have the breakout tables. However, we'll be delving deeper into each of the sort of main themes of the plan, with economic development being one of those stations where we'll have more information on that. So I know there'll be some notices going out in the paper. So from that, I think we could kind of circle back around and just kind of talk about where I'm at with getting the action items, getting a little bit more input from the commission as well as getting input from other entities in town. I know Jim was able to circulate what we had, and I got additional input back on some specifics there. So I think we want to be able to go through the discussion on this. Maybe we go main theme by main theme, starting with the first one to get your input on that. The first one that we have is color-coded in this sort of sand or tannish color. And it really gets to how to ensure the main rural heritage, the culture, the community is sustained going forward. And underneath that, we have a lot of different goals and then strategies with, action or responsible parties involved, who's the primary, who's the secondary, and then the time frame. I know everybody had a chance to go over this for about a month or so. I'm looking to see if there's any major questions on that, any additions to it, or any subtractions to the list that we have provided, and we'll do the same for each section. So I'll turn it over to the commission for discussion on that one.
Okay, we're starting on the yellowish.
Yeah,
The rural character?
Yeah.
the tannish color.
Any questions or comments that wanted to add to it? Harvey, did you?
No, I read it over, I didn't have any problems with it, I thought it was fine.
Okay.
I don't have it here with me right this minute.
Yeah, some sections we may not have any comments or questions or additions on. And if we don't, that's fine just to say that, and we'll move those forward. The idea, sort of where we're at, is we're keeping this as it's stamped in draft form. When we go out to the public on the workshop on the 13th, we're gonna ask for additional objectives or strategies that fall within this theme area. So is there something important that we missed? And then we'll be able to bring that back to commission, identify, here's what was suggested, do we wanna be able to add this, where do we wanna incorporate it? So right now, it's just taking a look at sort of that first pass or first blush at what we put out there. So,
Go ahead.
So on page 1 and 2, if there are any, we could then move on to onto the community facilities section, if that's okay. So our next big theme was to provide quality facilities for education, the community, recreation, and emergency services in town. There were quite a few that spanned the gambit of supporting things like the school's reconfiguration plan to looking at more targeted improvements for emergency safety or management. This is in part a bit of a capital planning list, but also in part of getting things out that you want to be able to really look at from a brick and mortar or from a service offering going forward. Some of the items contained within here also just relate to community services that the senior center may operate, that the Parks and Rec may operate. I don't know if you have any specifics on any of those, anyone?
Well, the only thing that this and a lot of these sections, you and I talked about it, is there probably ought to be a little bit of shuffling so that they're grouped together. So like the social service items are like 1, 2, 3. You know, instead of here, then, oh, we picked it up here again. So we need to do a little bit of reorganizing so that, you know, if we're talking infrastructure, it's infrastructure, then it's social services, and bing, 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 so that they're, you know, schematically grouped together and maybe even condensed in a way.
Okay.
To do it. That was my thought on a lot of this. That the points are clear, but some of them are very similar and need to be. Maybe next week I'll bounce that off of you. Good. Actually, this week.
Anyone else have anything on social services? Okay.
Don't we have a centralized?
Go ahead.
Don't we have a centralized emergency services communication center as of this point?
Kind of.
Sort of. It's
In
here.
process?
It's in process. I think part of that too is, you know, like when we talked about improving and upgrading emergency radio system, we don't have that completely done yet. So there's and in that, you know,
But we're talking about a center, right? Do we use the firehouse? Do we use the town hall?
we're using here now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That small room back there that we meet in, everyone's on Blue Moon.
And the room, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even for
Yes.
So the emergency radio, is that all funded or is that awaiting approval for finalization?
Rob, maybe you can help us with that. Isn't it funded, but it's approval?
We're just waiting on the final communication.
Yep.
Power location, that's it.
Yep.
That was we're piggybacking on the state, correct?
State,
Insofar
and
as
then we're
possible.
finding alternate locations in Chester pick up the dead.
Yeah, that's one of those that we knew was in the works, so we're just saying basically the short term, continue to move it along.
Okay.
And the top line there, continue to maintain and enhance the town's events magazine. And this could be a hot potato, but is there any way, is there a thought to like, because we have a local newspaper now, putting all our information in one place? And I mean, that seems like a pretty expensive publication. And
What's it?
Well, it's capitalism. It's capitalism in action. They're owned by two different entities, as far as I know, and they're let them compete.
Oh, I think the other thing also is, and no.
They're two different for-profit outfits, as far as I know.
I look at the weekly paper that comes in, and I read it. Just my copy tonight. It was in the mailbox, and I got half of it, and then it was Haddam. I didn't care. But the events magazine is more. It comes out quarterly. It's a more quality pub, and I tend to look at that like a little more closely because I'm not getting another one next week. So, and isn't a lot of it sponsored already with the ads?
It's all paid for by advertisement, none of it's paid for by
Yeah.
the town.
it's a lot, there's a lot of redundancy there.
Yeah, a lot of items can be recovered, yeah.
But if it's capitalism at work, then, you know.
And I've always
You don't
found-
want to just have one paper, right?
So you pay to have stuff published?
No, actually, no. The events is all paid by advertisers, and they just ask
So
us
it's a
to
free
put submittal, right?
Yeah.
Right, so.
And if you want, you can get exactly the same magazine for Old Saybrook with slightly different advertisers and a little bit different content.
Essex, Chester, they all have them. Lyme.
It's a hot potato.
That's all we had before the paper.
Yeah.
We used to have a Hartford Curtain, a Hartford Times. You remember those days?
Yeah.
Some of us do.
No. I don't remember the Hartford Times.
It was an afternoon.
Oh, I
paper.
almost
Well, the
got a
Middletown
job.
Press was an afternoon paper.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait a
it's good to
Courier
hear
and
that
the
it is
Register.
read, at least,
Yeah.
and that we were looking at it as a vehicle to be able to, you know, get excitement about events that were happening in town and sort of build a greater sense of community around it. And it does sound like people are, you know, look forward to reading that one maybe a little bit more closely than the weekly publication.
No, I hang on the weekly publication. It's thrilling.
Keep those going strongly.
That's where I get my news.
Does that answer your question, Bernie?
Yeah.
Okay.
The next bucket is in the mauve or pink color, and that really revolves around working regionally for economic development efforts while also ensuring that the natural and historic character of the town is preserved. And I haven't got a chance to go through all of Bob's, but I did catch a peek. I think you had some regional minded areas in here as well of being able to work.
Yes. Do you want to add to it then, Bob, at this point?
Well, I mean, basically, I would have to take and say that we're trying to do things, you know, with the other 5 towns to coordinate that sort of thing. So I think there are regional areas basically based around the river that we are working on and working as a regional group.
So should we, in that middle statement there, should we add all the list of the 5 towns? It just says Chester and Haddam. Should we just add the rest of them?
Just to the lower Connecticut River.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we call it.
Yeah.
So Mike, you got that, right?
Yeah.
EDCs.
I mean,
Are they the same members that are in Gateway Commission, the 8 towns?
No.
No, because 5. There's all 5 of us.
So it is different. So,
yeah,
okay.
but they only listed 2 here, so I said we just add the other 3.
Yeah, I think that one stemmed out of when we were, I bet with the EDC earlier, we talked about a potential shuttle or circulator with Haddam and Chester.
Yes.
To be able to kind of market the region within the region of just the 3 towns there.
We're looking to basically create a tourist area day trip that will go down to basically the ferry and come up either on trains or a boat or by car and to get basically to the castle and come up by another means and utilizing Eagles Landing as our beginning point.
And that's what I have captured in the last action item. So what I'll do is I'll modify the first one to include all 5 towns to work regionally there. And I did reference the River Cog, the Gross Smart SEDS in there as well as the recommendations stemming out of that to be able to support those.
Anyone else on regional?
Should River Cog be added to the support entity?
Yeah, they probably good catch on that one.
Okay. Have you thought of addressing River Cog and or the Gateway Commission with plans as you go forward on some of these ideas?
I certainly think the idea of the hiking trail going down along the Connecticut River is certainly something that we would like to talk with Gateway. So that they are familiar with basically what we're proposing to do and where and how.
I know Gateway, at this point, we have a meeting on Thursday, but I know Gateway is trying to promote more and more. They feel like a lot of people don't know who they are anymore.
Yeah.
They've kind of gotten lost, and they have extra funds at this point, and they're willing to spend them and to promote who they are, what they're doing, and why they're doing it. And economic and or recreational projects that you're producing might be just up their alley.
All right. And
And
maybe,
they have
you could, tell me when a time and something I could talk with them and let them know what we're doing.
Okay.
If you could coordinate that,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, and on timing too, I think now would be an excellent time. So we're going to capture that recommendation out of here in the POCD, but also River Cog has yet to finalize their regional plan of conservation and development yet.
Correct.
So to be able to have that become part of it, and that would be an effort amongst many of the towns, that would then help elevate that for some state or federal funding, because a lot of the federal transportation funding flows through the cogs. So all of that money, and it's not just when we think transportation of it being highways, bridges, it also is trails. And to be able to have that in there would be a big boost to be able to get that either master plan looked at, just to take those next steps of maybe even routing of where a trail should go. Obviously,
we're working starting this Thursday too with Kinetic Tourism for a better presence with them. They're coming up and working with us on the websites and all the businesses and interfacing them and such. So that's something too that is ongoing and something different. That's
good point. We'll move ahead to the blue. I guess it would be the aqua colored goals that touch on housing options, prepare for changing demographics, attract, support, and maintain housing options in the community. Anything jump out in this section?
Really, I didn't have problems with any of this stuff, really. I mean, who can argue?
Did you guys? No.
No, I didn't have anything.
Well, when you say consider developing a new village residential zoning district, are you delineating that?
We aren't delineating that. I think what would take a little study. I think what we're looking at is, in order to help support the economic growth and viability of the village, not going in and modifying the existing village center regs. Obviously those would stand, but looking at to be able to create a little greater density and a ring around that would make some sense. That could kind of piggyback on to the walkability of it, getting sort of feet on the street, a little bit more critical mass there. We think that's something worth taking a look at. I don't think it's, we're intending high density housing in any way. I think it's more so of just looking at potentially maybe modifying some existing structures to have additional unit in there, some way to be able to create a little bit more of a critical mass for people that have availability of dollars to spend within the village.
Okay, I had a note from the previous meeting when we went through this, Mike. The last one on the Aqua Blue or the blue, it's takeout EDC area on the second sheet or the second half of it.
As a support entity?
I'm assuming yes.
Yep, I got it.
Where are you?
The last section of blue.
Just above the green?
Yeah, above the green.
Evaluate land use controls.
You had started to make some changes as we were going through it before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I removed the EDC area and I put it back into the economic development section, which I believe is the gray now.
Okay.
And is there an existing plan for the Ludlow Green that's...
Well, the only thing is we put in a steep application. It was denied because too many people applied. And the idea on that green area was to eliminate the roadway there, get it so that there would be sidewalks there, fix up the drainage in that area. But it was part of that continuing.
So a plot plan exists for that?
It's not an A2 survey. There's Rogers drainage diagrams, which are A2, but other than that, we have the GIS mapping that we used instead of surveying it all out.
And that's something, even though you didn't get the grant this round, you'll be
still pursuing it. Yeah,
you're just keep pursuing it.
It's a wasted piece of pavement, and the green could be larger, and it could serve a better, And of course, if we can get the Amasa Day House to pony up and start to be open, then it'd be a wonderful green for a lot of functions.
And fortunately, they are perfectly willing to let you take the road out of there in the front, and so they would like to see the green brought all the way to their property line.
And I imagine that's a historic green, correct? That goes way back.
Well, it's Civil War monument.
I have a map in my house of 1804 where they diagrammed and it's sitting there, so penciled. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I just don't know if there's any historic preservation dollars towards maybe.
Gonna have to wait till the next budget is announced. Everybody's sitting.
Well, didn't the state approach us or approach the town about
Well, they
wanting
wanted.
to get rid of the road?
Yeah, the
They've got
DOT.
drainage problems they
Yeah,
wanna
DOT
solve by
wanted
doing
to
that.
solve the
Correct.
drainage
But
problems.
now we're the
yeah.
ones having to deal with coming up with the money.
Right.
Solve.
Yeah.
And that would also clean up the apartment houses down the road too.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
the other thing that would
That's
clean up
it.
that whole road.
And I think that's what brought the cost up all of a sudden. And then they said, "Well, you're out of the ball game because now you're doing all this drainage." But it's got to be done. It's crazy not to.
Can it be done in stages, I guess, but do
Well,
part, and then, I know it's
Yeah.
better to do it all at once, but
Sure.
sometimes you can't.
Yeah, it could be done with the drainage. The drainage is obviously the first thing.
It would also help the approved rec
Oh,
area
it'd help-
in the back
yeah, it'd help
because
the
they're
water
running
back there.
drainage down to there.
Yeah, it'll help the houses all the way down to the.
Yeah, actually, part
Old
of the
Cumberland
problems they've
Farms,
had
yeah.
down along 149.
Yep.
All the way down. A lot of open space in there.
The next category is the green category, protect East Haddam's landscape, waters, and natural environment.
Yeah, we all got a problem with that.
I don't think you'd have a problem with the theme, I'm just wondering if there's any additional ideas that you want to put in your strategies you want to put in there. I did get one comment on adding the Salmon River watershed strategy, so we included that one in there.
Where did you add that to?
Within the section, maintain East Haddam's high-quality surface and subsurface waters.
Okay.
Within there, the last bullet point now, or the last one under the objective strategy, continue and support the mission of Salmon River Watershed Partnership and Conservation Compact in order to protect its waters. Jim did give me a good question on the, we had ensured the state regularly cleans catch basins on state highways in order to ensure town compliant with MS4. And then he asked, do we have that power? And
Nobody does.
nobody does.
Nobody does it. And the funny part about it is we're not there yet because of our population
Yeah.
and density, so we don't have to fill out that god awful paperwork.
I know.
Which is good, but our day will come, and then Public Works will want to pull their hair out when they find out that every catch basin's got to be documented to the nth degree. And when it first started, I just called up and I said to DOT, I said, "So I can come and get your records, right?" There was dead silence.
They got $1 billion of them.
They're like, "No," because they were having a fit at the time because we were taking the sweepings, not the stuff from the drainage basins, but the sweepings, and then we were putting them in places that were non-wetland areas as lawn and excess fill. He said, "You don't even watch where you take your catch basin stuff, and that stuff, if it's from Manchester, Hartford, that stuff's toxic. That's some nasty stuff in those places. Here, with a traffic count of 500 per week, really? So it'll be a hell
What's
of
in it? Salt?
No,
Oil.
actually, in Manchester and all that, they've got
Metals.
some good. Yeah.
Metals, brakes, and cars.
Oils.
I know a neighbor of mine, they filled in his whole backyard with it.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
But if it's not in the catch basin, it's on the side of the road,
Yes.
so it's everywhere.
Yeah. When you get a high,
Wetlands right down the river.
So
It's
any
like cadmium
and anytime we do a road project, it is assumed we don't have to test it. It is assumed that anything we dig up in the road right away is hazardous. It's controlled. It's not like put it in a can and send it to Buffalo. It is you cannot put you can't take this off site. We do a lot of move it from here to there and build a hill. That's why you see all little hills all over the place.
Right.
Don't give up the secrets. It's like how the sausage is made. You never give that up. No one wants to know that one. Rolling goes
All
in
those
there.
beautiful 3-in-1 slopes probably aren't natural.
So even though you don't have any authority to tell them, we're going to keep it in there that you should tell them to do that.
Okay.
and the only thing I
They
noticed,
won't never read this, so.
Yeah, eventually it may get to the, somebody may listen.
Rob's here.
Anybody have anything else on that section?
Okay.
Missing Rob?
Okay.
For now.
I do need some input on the recommendation that's been carried forth from the last plan we kept in this one about the dark sky town.
Oh, that's easy. That's that regulation that we didn't realize was missing in the reg. I'll forward you the regulation.
That's the stuff that we got.
Yeah, what happened was we wrote a nice regulation, it's very dark sky compliant. And then unbeknownst to anybody, because we haven't had a application for a commercial where they come in and said, show me your lighting plan. When we printed the last set of regs, when we got that computer virus that ate us in 2014, we didn't realize it. They ate that section out, and it was gone. And I have it because there's a paper copy in the town clerk's office. Imagine that. You got it. So Nancy has to retype it all up. But yeah, I will forward you that. It's one of the better ones in the state.
So we don't need that list anymore.
No, we don't need that list. Yeah.
Not that he's prejudiced.
Okay.
All that is the list of different approved lighting.
Approved lighting, aluminum mounts, all of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's more than just the fixtures. So.
Yep. Yep.
So essentially on that section, did you accomplish the inventory?
Well, you can always say it.
No, we haven't. We
So you
haven't
drafted
done.
the ordinance. You still need to go ahead and figure out how you're going to begin.
Well, we wrote a regulation. We didn't do
It's in
an
our regs.
ordinance.
It's in your regs. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a regulation. Yes.
So any new businesses,
Yep.
which we do ask for anyway, downspout.
And to be honest with you, the school systems, they're always looking to save money, so they've done a couple of energy audits
Yeah.
over the past decade, and
But
they've changed out stuff.
But we have no power to go back and look at existing lighting.
No, they could have the damn
Sat on the
ugliest
board when,
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. All we can do is encourage them to.
we can ask. Yes,
We can enforce it when they come in for a change.
correct. Sometimes asking nicely is better than,
Make him do it.
All right. And I had one other one about the creation of regulations to prevent clear cutting with vistas to establish view sheds from private properties. That was a carryover from the old plan.
what was that?
This one here, I think, is ZBA.
I didn't think it
waiving
got
current
accomplished,
gateway
so it's
regulations
one of the
from
last
clear
ones
cutting.
before we go back to mustard, orange,
Yes, I know.
brown. It's under preserve and promote
Yeah.
Haddam's natural environment while ensuring its wildlife and explore the creation of regulations that prevent clear-cut vistas from being created to establish view from a home.
Where am I?
Oh, so you're like within the Gateway Commission,
Within the Gateway Commission, yeah, or Gateway regulations.
Gateway regulations?
Should that be within the
Well,
gateway or old town?
Gateway has the authority
To me,
over that.
countries that get a view, but that's just me.
Gateway has the authority.
I mean,
My
the
take
town-
on
you
it
share the
sounded
river,
like you
but they don't want
wanted
anybody to see
to
it.
ban it outside of the gateway.
Why?
When I read some of the narrative around it.
Yeah. Well, the way they get around it is you'd have to pull yourself out of Gateway.
Yeah.
Right, Harvey?
No can do.
Can't do it, yeah. Okay.
Oh, I know what I did. It's bumped and it's missed.
All right, if no more on the natural resources, we'll move on to
Transportation?
transportation.
There's a good chance I might have bumped you into purgatory. Nope, right there.
Yeah.
So some of this gets back to the old, your road inventory and your maintenance program for that, just really kind of following that, updating it. And then some of it gets into creating some alternative modes of transportation, including bike lanes, in proper locations. I believe we discussed as parts of town road being one of those areas that you may want to consider looking at having greater bikeability on. We left all of the major transportation ones that pertain to the village within the economic development section. We thought those went hand in hand there. overarching theme for economic development is just position East Haddam to grow the grand list to maintain the town's quality of life. And then within that, we've basically created several smaller buckets within that big bucket. Some of those revolving around the village, some of those pertaining to Town Street, and some of those pertaining to Moodus.
Bob, did you go through this? I know you got a list, because we handed this out, you were here.
I see a lot of what I skimmed from Bob's memo in my list already. Mm-hmm. So I think what I'm gonna do with my list is go through his and basically reprioritize mine and see if there's any additions that I need to be able to add in, as well as seeing some opportunities, as Jim had mentioned, just to be able to consolidate some of these down under a couple different ones, because we did get them from different sources. So I think when the end of the day is, it'll have something that has a little bit of the flavor from the EDC's list, okay, as well as some of the stuff that we have in there. And we'll just make it a little bit easier to follow. This was just really a brain dump initially. I think a simple organization and numbering system will go a long way with this. Be able to kind of organize it in a neater fashion.
So the third one down in the second economic development one, prepare wayfinding pedestrian circulation system plan. You're talking about wayfinding signs there?
Yeah.
Because I was going to mention that. Like, you got 250,000 people, and I take that road out, end up at Wolf's Den, I have no idea where I am unless I live in town.
It needs signage.
And well, like you know, you got a young couple that comes to the castle, and they might very well be interested in frisbee golf, and they're never going to find it.
And there isn't a good way in which for them to find it. And equally, they don't even know that if they go north, they're going to find restaurants,
right,
and other services, or basically maybe you want to go out to I-Park. So we need at that intersection basically.
But you need it for a while, like, you know, because great. So let's say you want to go play frisbee golf, which, you know, so now I'm going to spend, instead of coming to the castle for 3 hours, I'm going to spend the day in East Haddam, and I need to get something to eat. But it says frisbee golf, take a left, I take a left, and they're going to find my bones in my car because I'm still never going to find it.
That's very true, too.
You need something as we go up to, okay, got it, next one.
That's a great point. Rather than just having it at the logical busiest intersection, I think you need to stitch the attractions together so that if someone's leaving one attraction, hey, we have this is next, it's in a little kiosk, here's what else we have in town before you leave town.
We have that in our, that we need visitor center guides, places to put our guides.
Yeah.
Because the guides tie it all together and they speak of that and such, and so.
And also.
But even signage on the road, you know,
right,
a brown directional sign that says,
right,
this attraction this way.
Right, and some of the maps that like Jim helped with last year, where we just identified dot by dot exactly the places and such, you know, distribution of some of those maps and some of that and stuff.
We don't even have a good sign that tells people to take that right to go to the castle.
No. Correct.
Because I follow people constantly go, they're going slow. I say, yeah, they should turn there. Sure enough, they're driving through people's driveways nonstop to turn around and go back.
Way over on the left-hand side.
Yeah,
Well,
it
we
needs
have
to be a
big
little
signs.
bigger or something, because the left is okay because that's nice and open. But they're already just, even at a slow pace, they're driving right by it and they, oh yeah.
As an example, we have nice new signs that denote a lot of cemeteries around.
Yeah.
And they're very clear and very where you need to go and such, so something modeled after that would be for our attractions other than cemeteries.
I only see the water one.
Wolf's Den is kind of a classic
Yeah, but they are. They're
nightmare. You watch campers on a Friday night, you get at that intersection, that Shagbark, and you follow those campers, and it's always like, let's see if they see it in time, or do they know where they're going, one or the other. Drive by, and then it's like, oh my God, then they're trying to figure out where can they turn around, because campers are big.
So many people now navigating via Waze or the different online apps. I think you have to be more creative in realizing that people aren't getting there the traditional main routes, that if there's a way that's a minute and a half or 2 minutes faster, the little woman in the phone tells us which way to go, and that's where you want to be looking at doing some of your wayfinding and directional signage from, because if not, they're gonna miss it, because they're just following what that's, turn right 1,000 feet, turn left, and if you're not right there in their face, you're not gonna pick up on it.
That's what we're trying to take advantage this week of, with the tourism, kinetic tourism, because they'll tie those together for us. So, you know, we're trying to already get into that and let them, you know, do some of that for us.
Does Waze take advertisement?
They do.
You know, they pull up East Haddam.
If you're using Waves, you're not looking at signs until you get pretty much where you're at.
You put it on the voice and you drive around, because part of it being here is enjoying the scenery, right? But you're driving. But if you could shave 2 minutes rather than going over the bridge or whichever, you're going to go that way because the woman in the phone tells you.
But if you don't know the area too,
Yeah.
I mean, I was up in Finger Lakes, and it was the same thing. It would take me off the state road, put me back on 2 blocks later because it was a quarter mile shorter. But I'm at its mercy. I have no idea where I am, so I'm taking the turn.
Wherever it tells you to turn, you're turning.
That's how you drove off the boat ramp.
There you go.
Rob, did you have something to say?
Yeah, just on this whole subject of River Road. One of the problems with that intersection is there's no sign saying head southbound, right-hand turn. There's no intersection.
Yeah,
sign.
I mean, you can't see the intersection till you're right there.
Those are DOT signs that decades ago we asked to have put in. Because it's just an obvious thing. So people are looking at the sign, and that entrance is so narrow there that they're by it before they realize it.
I don't know why they don't make that intersection itself, which is really, I mean, I see people struggle with that intersection, because if they're driving one of those bigger rigs or a van or something, it's like they're in the other lane. Oh, yeah. And I mean, why doesn't the state improve that intersection? Because if you're talking about 250,000 people, we're talking a lot of cars.
The easiest thing is put a right-hand turn sign. For whatever reason, it's a state highway.
I mean, I just watch it a lot because of where I live. I constantly follow, and people go, let's see, no, they missed it.
All the
That's just the
time.
way it is, constant.
All the time.
And it's, the bad part, I think, for everybody in the neighborhood is, we're not gonna change the amount of traffic that's going to the castle, but at least they could drive directly there and not turn around in your driveway. Because we're talking thousands of people doing that, every year. So, I mean,
You see it, I see it.
oh, yeah, I
We
mean,
live down that area.
Margaret Kennedy, I mean, probably your driveway's worn out from it.
The other thing is, you're talking about the signs directing people. They can't be at the intersections like at Mount Parnassus where people are coming up, seeing that whole list of signs,
too many.
and stopping dead in the road. They have to be either away from the intersection somehow so people aren't.
The idea about being at the attractions, I think, is a really smart idea, because then you have time to really look at the thing and figure out where you're going. That's probably a clever idea, because the big list that we used to have there by Wrestling Cousin, it was so big you would have to sit there for 5 minutes to read
There's
it.
too much on it.
Yeah, and which way and all that, it was too much.
Bob, you want to add anything, since this is?
No, I think I'm gonna have to wait from because I mean, basically, we wanna look at what we can do on that lower Town Street. I mean, you started on that, I think we found at the public hearing, there was some hesitation. So it has to be done in a very, delicate, yeah, maybe that's the word. But we were talking about using a village kind of zoning there, so that it would be highly restrictive kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I'll stay on the same vein of Town Street. So what we're looking at is, looking at explore opportunities to expand commercial and mixed-use development in the vicinity of the, Route 82, Mark Parnassus Road intersections, 4 corners, identify appropriate land, adjacent intersection to establish anchor uses and create a gateway. Consider rezoning properties on the south side of the 4 corners to protect important commercial corner from undesirable industrial uses or storage uses.
Yes.
Evaluate implementation of public investments and utilities that may be necessary to achieve the economic development objectives. Explore zoning options to better enable infill development between the industrial park and River Road, encouraging a scale of commercial uses transition from industrial, commercial, and the rural character. Look at tourism opportunities. I think a lot of what we were crafting is in the same vein of you were.
So it's all the same worded verbiage, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll kind of look between the two of those and see where.
We're looking at that as being, that's our tourist mile right through there, and basically the attractions that are there would be the tourist attractions. So we're talking the restaurants and
antique shops,
antique and the
farms,
winery and that
the
sort
farm
of thing.
stands.
Yeah, and we touched on, I think, from the village standpoint, you had kept mentioning infrastructure. We were looking at, within the village itself, more technological infrastructure of Wi-Fi, 5G, looking at ways to support local businesses, home-based businesses, and the like from that standpoint.
Well, we're looking at it from the standpoint of water. Water was the big one down there.
And then we did also touch on a lot of the same recommendations that you had put together for Moody's as well, with being able to overcome some of the environmental issues, looking at some of the zoning issues, and really a beautification program would go a long way there from the standpoint of making it more attractive for people to invest dollars in there.
I think it's the environmental is where we got to start. Nobody's going to invest as long as there are those environmental questions out there. And if the community has to get involved in this in order to make it happen, then I think we've got to see how we can coordinate some grant applications for those properties.
Talking the old box cleaners and Brownell.
Yeah, all of
Basically everything on that lower strip right
all
there.
of that basic
Everything
stuff.
from the basically E&B and the gas station.
E&B, huh?
Well,
And
that's
basically,
that's one of those sad things that they actually pulled the tank out. They did the environmental study, but because it continued to be used industrially there, it's marked. So if it has the use, it's automatically marked. That's kind of, the way this works. If even if you run the cleanest operation in the world, you're marked as a hazardous waste site, which is not true until you actually find something, but.
Well, they're still there, aren't they, or did they close down?
No, he's still there.
Okay, that's what I thought.
He's got the auto body behind it.
Yeah.
When you're saying mark, you're just talking about like.
Yeah,
It's red flag.
It's not identified as a.
No,
it's
on
one
the
of
EDR,
14
it'll get flagged on like an EDR if someone's doing
Yeah, there's
preliminary
14
screening, but it's not not in a brownfield program. It's not.
No. But if you go to sell it though,
You can't sell
It
it.
requires
automatic
requires
review.
environmental. There's one of the,
But
and I forget what
all
they
that
call
would do
them.
is it require a phase 1 for conveyance to show that it has been.
But if it's
well, it
a, if it's
automatically
a,
be phase 2 because it was.
If it was a phase 1, you're right. Yeah.
it's a,
I
it's
get
a,
it.
it's a pesticide place. I'd go for phase 2.
That stuff costs money. You'll find more of that around the building here than you will. Oh, did I say that? No.
An old building.
Yeah.
Right around my house.
So I think in light of what the EDC has, I'll take a revisit on these. I know we have a big laundry list. We'll consolidate them and organize them a little better, and also reference the ongoing efforts that you all have going on as well from that standpoint. Was there any areas that we completely missed as part of our shopping list here that someone either heard about or you wanted us to be able to include in there?
Anything else from us?
No, as I mentioned, the major theme categories that I went over, those will be our breakout sessions for the next workshop. We're gonna basically canvass the community for additional input on those strategies and objectives, and ultimately then wrap up the action agenda and finish our draft of the plan. We don't want to finish the draft of the plan until we have this last workshop, so I think what we'll want to do probably after the 13th is just get sit down with us at a meeting where we can go over what we've heard at that last workshop and what additions we may have, or some areas that may be in conflict from where we were thinking.
We have a meeting the night before, so if you need to touch base, I don't know if we have anything on the agenda.
Presently, no.
I mean, if you think of anything, you're more than welcome.
Okay, I'll
Let
let
us
you know.
know.
I'd like to do one, I hate to have you guys an extra meeting, but maybe a week or so after.
Well, the 26th is our next meeting in February.
Okay, I'll put that one on my calendar.
As of right now, probably don't have much.
That would be a good one.
I know we're real busy, but like all towns, so.
That'll be a good one for us to report back on what we heard at the workshop and finalize this action agenda then.
Okay.
If that works for everyone here.
That sound good to everyone?
Oh wait, when is this? The 13th.
The 13th.
Workshop on the 13th.
What time is it?
7 o'clock.
I want to,
I wish I put that on my calendar.
if I may, go back one step. In your snazzy, big size bedspread listing there, To my way of thinking, it would be a good thing to capture or include, or however you want to put it, what the EDC is recommending with respect to a master plan for East Haddam Village. There have been, I don't know, 3 more plans for the site that the old town office building was on, but other than when we developed a village zone, nobody has really looked at the village as a whole for quite a while now.
Well, yeah,
And-
the mobility study did, and before that the EIE did, but that was 1999 when the Goodspeed was going to expand with the theater.
Right.
We did do a village scale
Right,
plan
but
at that time.
it's time to do it again, I think. And what may or may not have made the East Haddam Village District sort of end up so that there were a few people who were pissed off, but most of them were happy, was engaging not only the Goodspeed and town officials, but also reaching into the neighborhood to do the planning, for what it's worth.
Oh, good input. I actually had this flagged, and that made me go back. So I was referencing a lot of the pedestrian improvements and the circulation improvements going back to that mobility study.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than going back to that, should it be to conduct a new master plan that has a mobility component as well as maybe the land side of a development component of looking at how uses would lay out and orient themselves? And
I think that's what EDC is looking for, is just basically to update it and to get the Goodspeed to tell us exactly what are they going to do with their properties. That can tell us a lot as to what the potential is for the rest of that village, and what are we gonna do? I mean, we got the key one there, the Williams Chevrolet. What's gonna happen to that? And are they gonna utilize that for a rehearsal studio? What are they doing with it? And I think they need to have a master plan of their stuff, and then the community needs to have a master plan of the whole area, and go all the way up to the library. And then
See if
the
beyond
library down.
Make them work.
Even beyond.
I'm sure they have a master plan of their stuff.
Don't be so.
Don't count on that.
They're working on it now.
It's whether or not they've shared it, I don't know.
But you're saying that comes first, Bob.
Yeah.
Goodspeed has to.
We have to know what Goodspeed's doing,
All right.
but my understanding is they are doing a master plan on their properties. And if they have that, from that, we can, as the community, pick up and say, okay, now what are we gonna do with the rest of the village, and how are we gonna utilize it based on what they've decided?
Yeah, but don't you think that they'd wanna kinda know what
They'd
we
love to
want?
know what.
I mean, you,
Sure,
you
of
work
course.
together,
Of
and you work it out.
It would be
As
it
good
would be
neighbors
nice
should.
if we could work together.
No one will ever tip their hand, a private entity will never say, I've done a lot of master plans in areas where entities had their own master plan, and they never give you their master plan first until they see yours.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll show you yours, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't wanna give you any
Show me yours, I'll show you mine, right?
Yeah. Well, that's just,
Elementary school?
that's kinda how it works though, when you go.
But critical concepts like a new theater or not, that's kind of, I mean, those are big steps that if you don't know
Opening the
that, you
river
don't
or
know,
not.
what, you can't plan anything. If they're gonna throw in a new theater down there, or even think about doing it, that's a whole nother story about
That's
the
not
building.
gonna happen. No.
If that's not happening,
It's
then,
totally off the chart.
okay, so if that's not happening, then that's an
That's
That's what
important
they had
fact.
wanted to do.
What they wanted to do when Rowley was there and there was money, there's no money for that. And that was something, you were talking $40 million for,
Back then.
back then, good point.
Jim, you seem to know something about a Goodspeed master plan.
I know they're working on it.
Have they hired somebody
Yes,
from
they
outside?
have.
Okay.
They have.
But it's not too soon to, one room.
We might get together.
Yeah.
Yes.
You never know what could happen.
So, rather than revert back to the mobility study and the prior ones, we'll push for a new master plan as part of
Yes,
it.
please.
Well,
At
you
least that's
gotta
my-
understand, the mobility was strictly a sidewalk transportation plan. It stretched all the way over to Tylerville to deal with the traffic flows and the lighting, queuing that up, getting that right. So that was basically get traffic through. It did square up Lumberyard Road. It didn't deal with which commercial entities could be where, what could be expanded, all that. When we did the EIE and we had the sewer in, we did more of a thing of basically saying, okay, if the theater was going to be here, number one is how are we going to get them in traffic-wise? And they made one of the darndest, it was the worst meeting we ever had because we had a public presentation. And they told everybody that the traffic would go from a level D to a level E. And everybody just went out of their mind because they knew that that was a BS term. They just wanted to know vehicles per hour versus, now and then. And, I literally yelled at the consultant and said, that's what they want numbers. They don't want your speak.
Engineers with their level of service.
But anyway, that's in the past.
So anyways, but that was for the commercial entities back then.
Okay. Anyone else on this before
Is there gonna be a spiral, like, directly making this really?
This will not look like this in the
No, this is just for a worksheet for us.
Yeah, you showed us a while back, sort of how you would lay the book out if it was oriented this way, which made good sense. But I think, and I get the idea that we're not going to see a draft of the thing in this form with a pretty close to the way it's going to be until after the next public workshop, and then some time for you to actually
Yeah,
write it up.
I got 2 additional chapters done, so I have, I think, 4 to go in the conclusion.
Okay.
But I don't want to draft the whole thing and then have a 180 happen at my workshop. I think it would be a little presumptuous of us.
No, I understand, but we really like to see it.
I know you would.
Yeah, well, we're still working on it too.
Yeah, you don't want to say, here's our draft plan, and what do you think about these ideas? Yeah.
Bob, did we cover what you needed to?
Yeah, I
Mike?
think,
Okay.
yeah, I think that basically, I really think that, having Mike go through this next time and then see if it's covered everything well.
Okay, anything else on EDC, on economic development?
Well, did you have,
Or the plan of conservation?
on the rest of
Sorry.
that section that you're going over, we were circling the things you're changing, or are there changes in here that?
Basically, what we were looking for was to make some things for the Ludus area. What we were looking for is probably one of the bigger things was to see if there isn't something we can do with Sunrise. Sunrise is an asset that we have that's huge. But I think what we're looking for is to have some community input into what do we want Sunrise to look like, and then take and have our legislators go up there and go to work and say, what does the town of East Haddam want Sunrise to look like? And I think that could be a huge draw for Ludus area. And I think
That's a whole other corner of the town.
Yeah, but it's such a beautiful piece of property, and it's sitting there, and equally the town's not telling the state what they want. They don't know what we want, and I think we should be telling them what we want. And we
Anyone?
Dog walkers.
Hikers and, kayakers.
Horses.
Kayakers.
about that.
Yeah, it's right next to, it butts Macamuta, so it's a nice big open space, but.
Look if we get.
My feeling when they did that was, East Haddam doesn't need more green space, we got enough.
At least 3 things.
We need activity.
And basically.
Actually, I always thought like mountain biking.
And the river, absolutely a beautiful river. For kayaking and paddling boarding and.
Used to be a restaurant down there, right?
Right?
I didn't ever go there, so
Yeah.
That's the reason it's closed.
I was never around when it was open.
But-
These guys all work there.
2 things on your economic development piece. The 8 Mile River is 62 square miles,
62.
not 150.
Okay.
I've corrected that too many times.
Yeah.
And on page 4 of 9, you don't really mention walkability in your policies and recommendations in your list from A to G.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
And I think that's an important word
Or
to put in there.
to get the walkability.
Yeah. Of the village.
Yeah. No, I think that basically we're looking to take it and capture sidewalks and safe areas around there. You can still get it.
Okay, moving on. CEO report, anything?
Yes, we did get a review from the build people today, even though he wasn't getting paid. We requested a review of our application for the swing bridge, the cantilevered walkway. He said our application came out very strong. It actually was forwarded as a recommended application. Wow. The recommendation, you could be highly recommended, not recommended, and then he did have a category called "Don't ever call us again, please." It went forward recommended, and we had, but he said after it leaves their desk, it goes to the higher ups. He's people that know who know the area and the needs of the area. And he said there was 2 other problems. One was that with all the applications they got, even the ones that they approved only got 2/3 of the money requested all the way across the board. And secondly, they tried to do a balancing act between states to distribute the money evenly. Well, there was a major train station in Stamford that did get a large chunk, almost $30 million, which basically right away sucked up Connecticut's allocation. So he said that in itself really hurt, because once the state's allocation was taken up, that was kind of it, and so it was left off. He said that the visuals are strong, the idea of why it was needed was strong. He said we're weak. We said we were weak because we didn't have anything under innovation. But he goes, there is no innovation. You're putting a sidewalk on a bridge. That's not an innovative technology. He goes, so unfortunately, the guys that go down the line, he goes, I don't know how you make it innovative. And he said that. He goes, I don't know how you make it innovative. So you have that. He said environmentally though, you didn't have scientific study to figure out how many people would be driving back and forth, wasting gasoline and expending carbon. And so it's like, wow. Okay, so I guess if we have an opportunity to go at that again, I guess that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, you make up a number.
That ship is sailing.
Well, here's the other thing. We don't know that ship's sailing because we're going to wait till the budget's put to place. Then we're going to sit and talk to DOT and say, are you still on track? Yes or no?
That's supposed to start next year or this year?
19.
Yeah. And then if they are on track, are they willing to put some of the basic infrastructure underneath if another application comes out again to reapply and refine what's in there? And also, now that I have a little chance to say, hey guys, nothing for nothing. He said, you guys are at 18 million and we already gave 30. Is there some value engineering and you guys take a bite out of some of this and bring it onto your side as just basic strengthening of the bridge instead of charging every dime? Maybe the ship sailed. Maybe it didn't. Well, until we have the state's budget, we won't know that. So, and I'm thinking, what was he given till February something to put a budget out? And then,
Doesn't really make any difference what he says, what the legislature says.
But they have to take it after and then work on it.
And it's what the DOT's got programmed, because the DOT's going to get funded to some extent. So how far down on the funding will they go?
Right. So that's what I got to report on that. Sounds like he was in favor of the application, but
Cool beans.
Well, it'd be nice if the state would take into consideration, so later on we could do it, and that's where EDC and or the River Cog and Gateway would help.
Did we ever get a number on the
support for that
upcharge for the mechanics upgrade versus actually hanging the sidewalk? It's $18 million to upgrade for the sidewalk, which is an upgrade of, which is the 2 components of that were upgrade to the mechanical so they're beefier and can handle the added weight. along with the structural modifications. And then there's actually physically placing a sidewalk on there. Was that ever broken down?
Yeah, they broke it down, but it was,
It's heavily weighted towards the front end.
yeah.
The sidewalk's cheap.
Yes, yeah,
That's unfortunate.
yes, yeah.
Did you ever go talk to Joe about his 2 signs?
Shoot, no, I didn't.
Okay.
Nope. Let me put it down tomorrow. Joseph.
I'm surprised you haven't said anything. You drive by there all the time too.
We don't get along.
Whose signs?
But you don't have to talk to him.
Who are we talking about?
Sanibel's.
Oh.
He's had 2 neon signs out for quite a few months now.
Yeah.
I mentioned it to Jimmy, forgot.
Yeah, it was Christmas season.
So-
It was,
Hey, Mike.
What's
In my computer.
the
Where you're only allowed 1.
yeah, no.
Open.
The corner.
An
Well,
open sign.
Fellner's,
He's got his Budweiser
the
beer sign.
footprint's different. Of the addition now, right? Or the
No.
liquor store? Is it
No.
back in the same footprint?
Yeah.
I realized that was an L. Okay.
Well, they, no, it was 2 separate, but then they asked for, if they could join them, and we went along with it.
he returned.
Oh, I was out. I was not here.
It's looking good.
So you get when you have spotty attendance. Huh?
Okay,
course.
anything else?
The other thing pays me.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn out there? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
It was really tough. Let's see. They're gonna put a new septic tank in. That's about it.
Okay. Then went Thursday for Gateway.
Environmental impact evaluation.
I guess for putting us,